What people don't understand is the fact that it is actually our master regulator. It actually regulates just about everything in the human system. And it is the epicenter of homeostasis or balance.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jenkins, for joining me on Staying Ageless. I'm really excited to have you all the way from Jamaica.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, I want to ask you, first of all, I'm always curious about how people got into what they do in general. So, if you could give us the abridged version of what drew you to naturopathic medicine and also herbalism.
Really, when my oldest daughter was diagnosed with two different types of brain tumor in 2002 when she was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and going through chemotherapy, radiation, brain surgeries, and those types of things. Yeah, it that was definitely my catalyst for change, for incorporating,
Wow.
more traditional therapies and researching them, and just trying to find alternatives or things that could help her.
Wow. That is deep. Um, wow. So then you basically started studying from there. So you weren't on this path at all before then.
Not really. My grandfather is a healer, like he could go out into the woods of Mississippi and pick like all kinds of shrubs and berries and like, make concoctions that are helpful for a number of ailments for our family, for, the neighborhood or whatever. And he was really good at that. So it's definitely like um a part of our existence, part of our culture and history. But, as far as like doing that like as a profession or something like that, no. I was really into food science and things like that, but never until my daughter was diagnosed was it like a life path. I think that's the best way to describe it at this point, is like a life path.
Hmm. Wow. So you're an expert on the endocannabinoid system. I don't really think I understand it. I feel like the average person has never even heard of it.
True.
I would love for you to explain what it is and why we should care.
So the endogenous cannabinoid system, like think about it as like signaling pathways. So there's these signaling pathways that run through the length of our body. And so we have like over 300 receptor sites, that make up the endogenous cannabinoid system. And our brain produces endocannabinoids, which are fat soluble enzymes that go along these pathways, speak to these receptors. And that's really what the endogenous cannabinoid system is. But I think what people don't understand is the fact that it is actually our master regulator. It actually
Hmm.
regulates just about everything in the human system, and it is the epicenter of homeostasis or balance into the system.
In what way? Because of the regulation of different
Yeah,
processes?
so it regulates. So homeostasis, or balance, that's the optimal operating condition of the human body, right? It's where we all attain to get. Like you're working in optimal condition. And so that requires like all the systems in your body to be performing optimally for you to be at homeostasis. Everything has to be functioning the way that it's supposed to. So the regulatory function of the endogenous cannabinoid system is able to induce that state because it regulates things like cognitive patterns and sleep functions and digestive patterns and inflammatory response and our endocrine system and our central nervous system and cardiovascular system. It regulates all of those things. So it has the ability to induce homeostasis because of the
Mhm.
regulatory function and actions of the endogenous cannabinoid system.
Got you. Why is it something that I feel like I haven't heard that much about, and unless I've started to dig a little deeper? Like, why is that?
I think because it was discovered in the 60s and really the function was quantified in the 90s. So um, I don't think that it was something, and I think it's such an intricate system and we're still learning so much about it. And there's not a lot of research still, to
Mm.
this point for us to have like definitive answers. But I don't think we understood, first of all, even how hardwired we are to interact with botanicals. Um, and with this particular system, we have a set of botanicals that have a chemical compile, a chemical profile that is almost exact to something that our brain produces naturally. And I think that that's just, had escaped us maybe in science. I don't think that it's new, you know, but I think the actual quantification of, okay, this is a system, it exists, and this is exactly what it does. I think probably in traditional medicine, folklore, and all of those things, it's known. It was a known fact. But to actually have quantitative evidence against it, that's rather new. That's rather new.
Hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, cannabinoids are actually found in cannabis, correct?
Phytocannabinoids, yeah. So cannabinoids. Ours are endogenous, so endocannabinoids is what our brain produces naturally, and so phytocannabinoids are the plant cannabinoids. So yes, they're found. It's found in cannabis and hemp, but a number of other botanicals, like cacao, is chocked full of anandamide. Like passion flower has a cannabinoid profile. Skullcap and catnip and hops and lots of botanicals have a phytocannabinoid profile.
Yes. No, I think that's an important thing to stress because I think a lot of people get hung up on the cannabis only and it's like, wait, no, there's a bunch of plant life that
Right.
actually influences this. Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Because like I said, we're hardwired to interact with botanicals. It's nutrition. Plants are nutrition. So I
So
think
do
of
you
it
feel
more
like
as
the
like a vegetable.
endocannabinoid system kind of you could make an argument that we're designed to mostly eat plants with that?
Absolutely. I think we're designed to interact with plants on a number of things. Like if you take like, wheatgrass, for example, the chlorophyll in wheatgrass is almost identical to human hemoglobin.
Yes.
If you take the sugar that breaks down when you cook Jerusalem artichokes, it's almost identical to insulin. We're hardwired to interact with a number of botanicals. It's not just like cannabis or hemp, and it's not just the endogenous cannabinoid system. It's our
Mm,
body as a whole. We need vitamins, minerals, amino acids, all of those things, enzymes to perform, bodily functions, and we get those nutritionally from foods. So we're hardwired. It's the way that we're built. Absolutely.
that makes sense. Interesting. So what is endocannabinoid deficiency? I was seeing this tossed around and I was like, I'm trying to understand what that means. Like, what does that mean and what could that lead to?
What that means is our brain produces endogenous cannabinoids naturally. But as we age, as we go through stressful situations, as we have acute illnesses or other things, we produce less. We're going to produce less. It's just like everything else. You don't produce enough vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin K, enough iron, enough magnesium, zinc. You don't produce, you have to consume things to get that supplementation. So to think that would be different. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be the same, sort of rule of thumb for the endogenous cannabinoid system. We have this system and our brain produces endocannabinoids. But you know what? We produce so much that we don't even need to worry about it. Like
Right.
we've got that on lock. No,
Right.
that doesn't work with any other system in the body. And it definitely doesn't work like that with the endogenous cannabinoid system either. It's
Yeah.
the same. You know what I mean? It's not foreign. It's the same principle. It's the exact same principle. And especially when you talk
That
about
makes
stressful situations, stress, you're definitely going to produce less of everything because your body is working to keep you alive while you're going through this, fight or flight, sort of response. And we all live with just an enormous amount of stress that doesn't even make any sense, these days.
mhm.
And so we definitely produce less, definitely produce less.
That makes sense. So that for me ties in with longevity in the sense that over time, does that mean that we need to be paying attention also to, in order to optimize for longevity in general, do we need to be paying attention to consuming more phytocannabinoids?
Absolutely. We need to be consuming them nutritionally. So, think about this. The endogenous cannabinoid system is developed very early in gestational age. It's one of the first things that's being developed when you're being developed. every mammalian species and some invertebrates have an endogenous cannabinoid. Did you hear what I said? Every mammal on the planet has an
Wow.
endogenous cannabinoid system. And so endocannabinoids are actually found in breast milk. Like that's what you're actually, so the first food of life, what you're getting is chocked full of endogenous cannabinoids. That's nutritional
Wow.
supplementation at its finest, from day one. Like that's what it is. And we should really be looking to, yes, nutritionally supplement our endogenous cannabinoid system like from day one. Like we need to, they encourage breastfeeding, and they probably didn't even realize, before the discovery and quantification of the endogenous cannabinoid system, how really important that really was. Why is that the best food, for the first of life? Mostly because it's giving you your endogenous cannabinoid system support, the master regulator. So, absolutely, nutritional
Mm.
supplementation is necessary for everyone. Unless you're a small child or exclusively nursed, you probably are suffering from some sort of endogenous cannabinoid system deficiency that requires supplementation.
That makes sense. So so if I'm trying to take this advice and practically apply it, it's like, what kinds of things do I need? You mentioned cacao. Like what kinds of
Mhm.
things can I practically add to my diet in moderate amounts or higher amounts to help me with this?
I think where people can start, and where they can get the nutritional support because it's readily available and legal everywhere to access, is what like hemp. Hemp is a superfood. It has all of the vitamins, minerals,
Love
amino
hemp.
acids, everything that's required to sustain life is found. So you have hemp protein powders, you have hemp seeds, you have hemp oil, you have hemp milk, you have all of these things that are available. For me personally, I like adding like hemp protein powder to like different things because then I'm getting like protein and I'm getting fiber and then I'm getting all of the nutrition that I need, at the same time. And I'm supporting my endogenous cannabinoid system. Like
Mm.
that's like, so I try to incorporate those things, into my diet. And then, sometimes, especially when it's like in stressful situations again or things like that, I like to use other herbs that have a phytocannabinoid profile, like passion flower, like lemon balm, like skullcap.
Mm.
Soothing, healing, you know what I mean? Calms you, great on the to work on the central nervous system. Those types of things, I'll use those to just, as like adaptogens, even just to keep my system functioning the way that it should be and keep me, optimal. But at the same time, while I'm getting other benefits from those herbs or from those other, foods, I'm also getting endogenous cannabinoid system support. So,
I love that. Is there a way to is there a way to measure the
no,
strength or health? No?
I wish there was. Listen, that's you struck a nerve. I'm triggered.
Because
No,
at that point you want to
listen,
know. It's like
I'm
is at
triggered.
that point you want to know if can
Yes.
I test to see if my endocannabinoid system is
I
working.
wish. I wish. And that's the thing that I preach all the time is that we need to be there on the research because, like, there's no
Mm,
test to say or no metric to say, how you have the food pyramid, like, right?
yeah,
You need this
yeah,
much protein, this much this much that, you have all that and you know what your daily required values are, vitamin, minerals, whatever it is. There's no
yes,
daily required value chart that I can look at and say, like, how many endocannabinoids do I need in my system and which ones and what do they
right,
do?
right,
You know what I mean? And then I can't go to the doctor and get like a simple laboratory test. Like when I get my blood drawn, they can tell me how much, vitamins, minerals, or whatever I have in my blood and what I'm deficient in and what I need to do to fix that. No, there's no test that exists like that for the endogenous cannabinoid system. So it's like,
hmm,
you know, you're on your
hmm.
own. Good luck
I
with that.
know. We need to get on that.
Yeah,
So
we do.
it sounds like you were mentioning stress. It sounds like just in general, paying attention to your holistic nutrition is going to optimize the function of your endocannabinoid system.
Definitely.
What about is there any data or just any sort of, knowledge around like exercise or like meditation or any kinds of things like that?
No, because the endogenous cannabinoid system affects and enhances all of those things. Because it regulates your cognitive function, you can't even meditate right. If it's not, can't even meditate right. If it's not if you're not supplementing your endogenous cannabinoid system, it really has, a function on, endurance and recovery and those types of things when you're talking about exercise. So it has, positive outcome effects on all of those things. So it's
Yeah.
not like the those things affect the endogenous cannabinoid system. The endogenous cannabinoid system affects those things. So if you want to do those things more
Yeah.
optimally, you need to pay attention to the endogenous cannabinoid system first. If you want to have a true health and healing and homeostasis, it almost doesn't matter. Like when you come to me and you're like, I'm going through this, and this. And I'm like, okay, well, let me try to fix that root cause. But at the root cause, you're not in homeostasis. That's the root cause. And if the endogenous cannabinoid system induces homeostasis, then like, what are we even doing here? Like, it doesn't
Right.
matter this other stuff that I'm doing because like your master regulator is not regulating. So you're only going to get so far. It's only going to do so much for you. You're not going to get that true, efficacy that you're looking for.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So I do not ever recommend cannabis when I don't really feel like I am qualified to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and I think people should be very careful with it.
Definitely.
But what exactly is cannabis doing with this system? Like, what is happening when you're? I mean, I guess there's many ways to consume or use cannabis, but I'm just curious.
So it's speaking to the receptor. So the endogenous cannabinoid system receptors, when it was quantified, we had the CB1 and
Hmm.
the CB2 receptors. That's what we knew about. We're up to seven endogenous
Mm,
cannabinoid system receptors now that are being researched, and they're
wow.
found everywhere throughout the length of your body, like your entire lymphatic system, all of your organs, your skin. Even your skin is your largest organ. CB1 and CB2 receptors are there, so you have all of these receptors. So what is happening is the highest concentration, though, of endogenous cannabinoid system receptors are in our brain and in our gut. There's a lot to be said
Mm,
about gut health. Don't get me started. The microbiome and all of those things. Please don't get me on a soapbox
yeah.
about that. But
Yeah.
even then, again, while everyone's preaching about that, they're still not taking the endogenous cannabinoid system into account and the fact that the highest number of receptors are in our gut and how much that affects our gut health.
Wow.
So, when you're talking about what
Hmm.
does it do? Will you consume? Because really, that's the best method of administration is actually ingesting, a phytocannabinoid supplement, whether it's a tincture, whether it's a food, whether it's a whatever. Ingesting it, it's going and hitting those receptors in your gut now and circulating throughout your entire endogenous cannabinoid system receptor, all of the sites, and it's speaking to them. It's making those
Mm,
biological connections that are required for our body to perform. That's really what it's doing in its most simplistic manner. But that's what all food does. When you're eating it, it's doing it's the same exact principle. It's nothing foreign. I really look at it as nutritional supplementation, and I think of cannabis more like a vegetable than anything. Like it's a
hmm.
food, it's a vegetable, it's a nutritional supplementation. So really, it's not like, should I be using this? Yes, you should. The question is, what product, in what dose, and what delivery or method of administration? Those are really the questions that you need to answer. So, cannabis and hemp, same plant. Like, let's just get that out of the way. Same genus, same family. It's cannabis sativa, regardless. It's whether you have a THC concentration of 0.3% or greater.
Okay.
Then, if you have it raw, the THC has an acid chain on it that actually blocks the receptor for psychoactivity. So you're really talking about more nutritional supplementation now.
Hmm.
So really, like at the end of the day, when we're consuming not just, and we can't even limit it to just phytocannabinoids, because there's terpenes and there's flavonoids and there's lipids, there's other like actual active constituents of the plant that all play together synergistically to work
Hmm.
with that endogenous cannabinoid system. So I say that to say this: whole plant nutrition, not even whole plant medicine, whole plant nutrition. Don't isolate constituents. Don't take one of the cannabinoids or two of them and say these are the one or two that are cool. No, you need all of them, because we're not at the point. All this that we've talked about today, like, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Right.
What I do
Right.
know, we're not at the point that we should be isolating anything because we don't
Mhm.
know.
Love that. Love that. So if you want to optimize your endocannabinoid system, eat plants, basically.
Yes, eat
Eat plants
plants.
and get your life together.
Yes, I'm gonna need you to get your life together and eat some plants.
This has been such an awesome interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close out?
Yes, phytocannabinoid supplementation is required for the maintenance of human life. Health and medical disparities are being created because of the misinformation and lack of education around the endogenous cannabinoid system, and the necessity of nutritional supplementation to support that system for true health and healing and homeostasis. So get your life together and eat your plants.
Love it. Love it. Where can people find you online?
Dr. Lakisha. So it's Dr. Lakisha. Dr. Lakisha is actually it's a trademark, and it's me. So when you look up Dr. Lakisha, you should be able to find me and just me.
Okay.
DrLakisha.com, Dr. Lakisha on all social media. Just Dr. Lakisha.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thank you.